some of the predictions about what the defense is going to be about are turning out to be true. A lot of people in the chat are correctly saying that it's just whataboutism. That's all that they're doing right now. They're trying to take any statement that they think is as bad and say, well, look, this other person said this thing in a totally different context that didn't result in violence and wasn't part of a pattern of glorifying political violence, and saying that that makes it all the same. And I think there's starting to be a reaction to this that I think more of us should think about. Not that there's going to be critical thought that's going to result in senators going one way or the other, but if there were, ask yourself, for instance, one of the things they're citing is other politicians who've said you have to get out there and fight, or it's time to fight, or using fight or whatever. So what does the word fight mean? And I think context is probably pretty important here. So if it's 300 days until the election and you say you got to get out there and fight, you could conceivably be talking about virtually anything political, right? And like, we're still in the primaries. You could be fighting to choose the right candidate. You could be fighting to register voters, all of that. Even right up until the election, get out there and fight, have your voices be heard. You could give a little bit of money, you could drive people to the polls and all of that. But people are pointing out, on the morning of January 6th, what does fight mean? Because the election was months ago. All of your court cases have been going on for months and you've lost. The results are about to be certified. Your attempts to stop that from happening and send rival electors are already done. There is no place for random mobs of people at that point to do anything else that you would cloak under the guise of fighting politically. All there is a constitutionally mandated process ongoing a little bit of ways from your rally. So what other definition of fight is left other than go there, mob the building, and stop the count from happening? There's no voting to be done. There's no candidates to be chosen. There's no other demonstrations to be held. You had the demonstration. After that, what remains for fighting? And this is far more than they're gonna get into because they don't care. They're not trying to actually claim that other politicians are being irresponsible. And it's, again, like we've been saying all week, it seems so pointless because Ted Cruz he's not waiting for the right rhetorical flourish to sway him. But it is frustrating to see whataboutism once again rule the day.
No, I think that's a weak argument. I think it depends on what your definition of is a weak argument, especially in terms of what Trump means by it. I think that's what it came off as to me. I think you might be saying like, I think the focus, and I also don't think that they're gonna get him on this. And I think that this general like,
get him on what?
On him directly inciting violence. They're just not gonna get.
You mean they're gonna quit him overall? Yes.
Yeah, and I don't think
I agree.
I don't think it's a strong argument. You just are not gonna get it. I think what the best chance is to appeal not to what Trump meant by it, but what a reasonable person would assume those people in that group would interpret from it, and the responsibility you bear as the president. Because like a minute and a half after saying we're gonna walk down, I'm gonna walk with you down and we're gonna fight, he says peacefully and patriotically. And that's what he thinks is his kind of get out of jail free card. And if the shoe were on the other foot and someone said, I want you to be peaceful, I would then have to go back, take a step. If it was some other group and some other person besides the president, who's responsible if it turns into violence? I would say, well, let's look at and this is what the impeachment managers have done. Let's look at the pattern over years and years.
Yes.
And it would take a total idiot. And Trump has tested the boundaries of that definition. But it would take a total idiot not to understand that by saying fight, even if they if QAnon and his entire group look at the subtext and he knows this and are looking for the deeper meaning and parsing how they can interpret it. Trump needed to do the thing that the Republicans for years and years have touted as the one amazing thing about American democracy, and that is the peaceful transfer of power. Yeah. And he has gotten rid of that, not for 12 hours, not for 30 days, not for 30 hours, not for 72 hours, but for like 72 days.
Yeah.
And continuing to now, but especially on that day, he is still trying to undermine and eliminate American democracy. And at that point, and so I think also there, yeah. So that's my take.
Yeah. I obviously the pattern leading up to it matters. I think, I don't know how much of a part this plays in past First Amendment court cases, but I think your reaction to what happens could give us insight into what your motivations were. Like if I'm in a theater and I say, let's burn this mother down, then as you pointed out, how likely it is that people are to act one way or another, should be included. Like if I'm saying that to a group of people that are holding jugs of gasoline, that might be interpreted differently. But also, if I just say it and then they start lighting fires, and then I just stand there versus shouting, no, stop, no, this isn't what I meant. That tells us a little bit about what you think. And we know exactly what he did and didn't do on the 6th and on the 7th and all the way up until now, actually. And so intent matters. And he has been very clear how little he cared about what happened.
Check out the Damage Report podcast each day, wherever you get your podcasts, whether Pocket Casts or Stitcher or iTunes. You can join me as I give you the news and stories you want, with a range of co-hosts and interview guests jumping in on the fun each day. Again, that's the Damage Report, wherever you get your podcasts. And if you get them at iTunes, don't forget to rate and review. Sometimes I'll read them live on the show.